Yes, hello.
I thank you, Mr. President, to survive at all. This awareness has helped to promote the concept of equality. Vast oceans, high mountains, waterless deserts, and immense distances. A nation could then live in seclusion and even prosper in isolation. It must be resolved if India and Pakistan are to survive and prosper as a free nation, and a peace is to be preserved in Asia. Mr. President, the United Nations is dedicated to peace with justice. In the subcontinent, both are at stake. Where can nations, more particularly the newly independent nations, turn to avert war, except to this world organization, which has outlawed war? Where can people invoke their rights against abuse of power, except in this forum, which is the repository of world conscience? Distance has been virtually annihilated. Mankind is fast becoming one, as the great Creator intended it to be. The affairs of one nation now impinge on the affairs of others. And a new world of interdependence has now emerged, demanding urgent understanding of one another's needs and problems, and their cooperative fulfillment and resolution. The greatest threat to this new world springs, however, from the ever-widening inequalities within societies between one society and another. With the rapidly rising aspiration of the people, the gulf between the rich and poor is giving rise to grave tensions. Man, who once accepted privations as part of the pattern of divine dispensation, now demands a better life as of right. The same with nations. Even those whom the technically advanced societies may regard as ill-endowed or ill-equipped now refuse to accept that another society has a right to rule over them or deny them the good things of life. The stampede for freedom in Africa, as in Asia, is a spectacular display of the spirit of man bursting forth to fulfill itself, with political freedom as failed through arbitration, and then let India and Pakistan sign a no-war pledge. We too have suffered on this account. It is with a sense of deep sorrow that I turn to the tragic developments that recently overtook the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. The effects of the violent upheaval which shook the subcontinent last September are well known to the world. I will therefore not dwell upon the details, but this august assembly must know that we have been through one of the bloodiest of armed conflicts in the history of the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent. Leaders in both India and Pakistan resolve in all sincerity that they shall compose their differences